Imagine a Europe trembling under one man's rule, a general so brilliant that kings feared his mind more than his armies. Then, after years of war, betrayal, and defeat, he's finally captured. But what if Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France, had never been exiled to Elba? What if the Allies hadn't sent him away to a tiny island in the Mediterranean, but killed him, imprisoned him, or allowed him to stay in France? Would history have changed forever? Would Europe still have crowned kings, or would Napoleon's vision of a unified, modern Europe have come true? Today, we're diving into the alternate history that could have reshaped the modern world. What if Napoleon never went to Elba? By 1814, Napoleon's empire was collapsing. After more than a decade of war, his once invincible army had been shattered in Russia, his allies had turned against him, and his enemies, Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia, had invaded France itself. Paris fell. Napoleon abdicated the throne, and the victors faced a decision that would shape history. What to do with the most dangerous man alive? They chose to send him to Elba, a small island off Italy's coast. It was meant to be a soft exile, a way to remove him without turning him into a martyr. But what if they'd made a different choice? Imagine if the Allies had imprisoned him in London or Vienna under constant watch. His charisma, his letters, his influence, all cut off. Europe might have enjoyed a brief, uneasy peace. Without Napoleon's dramatic escape from Elba in 1815, the event that led to his final defeat at Waterloo, the restored French monarchy might have survived longer, and the revolutionary spirit might have finally cooled. But there's another possibility. What if Napoleon had been allowed to stay in France, not as emperor, but as a political leader or even a retired general? It sounds impossible, but in early 1814, some French politicians actually proposed it. They argued that keeping Napoleon in France would maintain stability, that his presence would prevent revolution or civil war. After all, millions of French soldiers still worshipped him. Had the Allies agreed, Napoleon might have become a figure like George Washington, the founding hero who guided France's transition into a new constitutional era. His reforms, the Napoleonic Code, merit-based government, education for all, could have expanded peacefully instead of being crushed under Restoration monarchs. Without the Bourbons' return, the seeds of resentment that fueled later uprisings, like the 1830 and 1848 revolutions, might never have taken root. France could have remained a progressive republic decades ahead of its time. And beyond France, the rest of Europe might have followed his model. The German states, inspired by Napoleonic reforms, could have unified earlier. Italy might have avoided decades of struggle, and the British Empire, deprived of its great rival's defeat, might never have dominated global politics in the 19th century. But keeping Napoleon in France was risky. He was too ambitious, too restless. Even stripped of his crown, he might have tried to reclaim it, plunging Europe back into chaos. The question wasn't just whether Napoleon could live in peace. It was whether the world could live with Napoleon still in it. Without exile, there would be no 100 days, no triumphant return, no desperate gamble at Waterloo. And without Waterloo, history takes a sharp turn. For one, the Congress of Vienna, which redrew Europe's borders after Napoleon's defeat, would have looked completely different. The monarchies restored by the Allies might never have consolidated their power. Instead, Europe could have evolved into a continent of constitutional governments, guided by Napoleon's principles of meritocracy, secular law, and centralized administration. Britain, deprived of its crowning victory at Waterloo, would still remain powerful, but less dominant. The myth of British invincibility, born from that battle, might never have taken hold. Prussia's rise, which depended heavily on the post-Napoleonic order, could have been delayed. And across the Atlantic, the young United States might have faced a different world entirely. Without Europe's monarchies united in victory, Republican ideals could have spread faster. The 19th century might have become the age of Napoleon instead of the age of empire. Yet there's another side to this. Napoleon's survival might have led to an even darker outcome. If he had remained in power or even behind the scenes, his hunger for control could have reignited Europe's wars. His armies could have marched again, perhaps against Russia or Austria, bleeding another generation. The revolutionary dream might have died under the weight of endless conflict. Instead of progress, Europe might have descended into exhaustion and authoritarian rule. In short, a world without Elba could have led to one of two extremes: a golden age of reform or a never-ending cycle of war. Napoleon's exile to Elba lasted less than a year, but that single year changed everything. His escape, his final battle, and his ultimate defeat at Waterloo defined the course of modern Europe. If he had never been exiled, history might have gained peace or lost the spark that shaped the modern world. Because Napoleon's story isn't just about conquest, it's about ambition, vision, and the price of greatness. And perhaps that's the real lesson. No matter how powerful a man becomes, history always finds a way to humble him. If you enjoyed this alternate history, you'll also love our last deep dive, the surprising history between Israel and Iran. It reveals how two nations, once allies and close friends, became bitter enemies, and how history's alliances can flip in an instant. Because whether it's nations or empires, every relationship in history has its breaking point.